Remember, there's some pretty important information here in the disclaimer. You might want to give the video a quick pause and read it.
Oh, hey everybody, it's me, Sonic! Sonic the Hedgehog! Just here to remind you that if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. And for even more amazing customs, don't forget to subscribe to Wake Angel 2001, because between you and me, they're way past cool.
Hello my friends, this is Wake Angel 2001 coming at you with a custom figure that I've made. And this is a pretty magical one because that mystic cosmic customizer energies came from the heavens and just slammed into me like a ton of bricks, allowing me to bang this thing out in only 2 days. Yeah, my Patreon supporters know I actually announced the creation of this thing only 2 days ago, and here it is. It is Princess Sally in Jack's Pacific scaled post-Super Genesis Wave version. That's quite a mouthful, but yeah. This is all predicated on last Thursday when I was on my way home from work and decided on a whim to stop over at the Target whilst purchasing a gift for my mother for Christmas. And lo and behold, apparently the Target just got a shipment in because they had 2 Amy Rose figures just sitting there on the shelves waiting to be sold. So like, wow! I mean, the rest of the wave was there too, but the Amy's were actually there. So I purchased one for myself, and I left the other one on the peg for some kid to get because I'm not going to deny a child what they want. So I used the new Amy Rose figure's head to swap out with the head of the Amy Rose figure that I already had because, that one had the fingerprint and glue on the back of its head that I couldn't get rid of. So now my personal Amy Rose has a nice non-glue covered head, and I decided to use the rest of her to make into a Princess Sally because I've always wanted one of those, and I knew that when I got this Amy Rose figure that she had a pretty good physique for it. And here's some, but you know what? That's an interesting backstory for how I got this figure. But I think that the post-Super Genesis Wave version of Princess Sally deserves to get her own little backstory segment too. So let's get into that first. The redesign of Princess Sally begins right before the first Super Genesis Wave hit. I believe this was Sonic the Hedgehog issue 224, 225, somewhere around there. Like leading up to the big Sonic Genesis event. I think it was 225 that was the beginning of this arc. So 224 will be when this happens. Dr. Robotnik had just brought up his new Death Egg, equipped with a world roboticizer, set to turn all the Mobians in the world into robots in one fell swoop. So Sonic and Sally bravely infiltrated the Death Egg robot, only to be confronted by both Silver Sonic Mark III and Metal Sonic at the same time. And during this battle, Princess Sally was killed. Yeah, like, seriously, while Sonic is distracted fighting off 2 doppelgangers at once, a gun turret literally guns Sally down, and she's freaking dead! Of course, that's when the Super Genesis Wave hits, and she's brought back to life along with everybody else, so that they can do their fun little version of the first Sonic game, but including the cast of the Saturday morning cartoon in there, including the original names, like Antoine being named Antoine Depardieu instead of Decoullier, and Rotor going by the name of Boomer. So, yeah, that was fun. So, adventure stuff happened, and Sonic was able to get his hands on all that raw chaos energy that was being used to power the event, and he used Chaos Control to undo all of Eggman's tinkerings with reality, and turn back time just that couple extra minutes so that he could make sure Amy Sally didn't get gunned down by that gun turret. I Freudian slipped and said Amy because of the base figure, not because I wanted Amy to be in that situation, just in case somebody has just in case anyone's wondering what I was doing there. So, of course, Sally wasn't killed, but instead, she was able to stop the world roboticizer by turning the energy in on itself. Of course, since she was lying inside of it when she did that, that means that she was the only person to actually get roboticized. Now, Dr. Eggman took full advantage of this and weaponized her. That is, he reconfigured most of her body into an extremely powerful battle mech, powered by a power ring of all things. So she was easily able to fight on par with Sonic, and she was basically like as powerful as Metal Sonic, but also had that extra psychological edge of being Princess Sally too. So she's super powerful, and also you don't want to use your full power on her because you don't want to destroy her. In fact, there was one time when they managed to take her down, but she drained her power cell in the fight, and they had to. And this is against Monkey Kong. They actually had to put another power ring into her to keep her. If she powers down all the way, then Princess Sally's soul would be lost. Recharging the robot would just make it a soulless drone, not a true Robian. So, yeah. Of course, Silver the Hedgehog, who came back from the future to avert the apocalypse, because of course he did, was able to stop Princess Sally without completely depowering or destroying her. And then they also had a plan to use the kudzu vine, to alter its evolution to turn it into a de-roboticizing agent so they could use it to save Princess Sally. But we never actually found out what this was because that's when they did the other Super Genesis Wave event leading into the Worlds Collide crossover with Mega Man, and when that crossover ended, it was the soft reboot that was the post-Super Genesis Wave continuity, where Princess Sally was never roboticized. That's at least the one thing that Sonic managed to get right when he reset the world. He's like, make sure that Sally's not a robot! Of course, Sally would have some redesigns. In addition to the alteration of her backstory, there was also an alteration of her physical appearance, which I think is kind of clever. It looks a little bit like her roboticized form's weaponized look, but it's her wearing clothes. And this does indeed jive with the aesthetic from the video games, where female characters always wear full outfits, as opposed to male characters, which usually just go around in shoes and gloves. Sally was always kind of an outlier for being not having anything on aside from her boots and that vest, so this finally made the Sega censors happy with her design, at least for a couple of years before Archie Comics pulled out of the deal entirely and Sega rebooted it again with IDW, writing Princess Sally out of continuity altogether. I will, however, say that the Super Genesis Wave was a soft reboot because whatever happens, they did make sure, at the very least, that the main cast remembered previous continuity. They made a big point of making sure that at least the core freedom fighters would remember everything that came before. I think that this was a backdoor, just in case the Super Genesis reboot didn't take, and they would get permission to pick up where they left off on what they were doing before. Of course, that sadly never came to be, and the post Super Genesis Wave continuity was really coming into its own with some good storylines of its own. But that's just kind of what happens. No use crying over spilled milk and lost continuities. Alright, so now that all that's done, let's actually get to making the toy itself. Now, Amy Rose surprised me in that she's built differently from the other figures. Most of the Sonic figures made by Jakks Pacific use a different kind of plastic in the torso that you can't soften by sticking in boiling water, so you can't take out the shoulder and hip pegs. But on this figure, the torso is made out of the same kind of plastic as the limbs and the head, so you can completely dismantle it, just like the old Jazzwares figures. This makes it way easier to customize, especially in using an X-Acto knife to cut off her skirt. I can't imagine, like, given the way her hips are designed, it would have been very difficult to cut around those things. And I was also able to sand the torso down much better, and now, I'm not saying that Amy doesn't have curves, but because it's an action figure, the skirt is actually doing a lot more volume. So, like, when you remove the skirt underneath, like the rest of the figure is just too skinny. So I did have to do a little bit of sculpting to give her a little bit more of a a little bit more of her feminine curves and a slight boob job. Post Super Genesis Wave Sally's boobs aren't that big. Not making a rouge on. Oh, for the record, I might have used a Froppy figure like I've been using to make Rouge the Bat. Like, if I used that Loyal Subjects Froppy figure to make a Princess Sally, then Froppy's physique is actually almost exactly like Post Super Genesis Sally's, so I would have only had to give it like a squirrel tail and the little collar. But, Amy Rose is, it has the advantage of actually being a Jack-specific figure, so, it just jives better. So, yeah, with a little bit of epoxy sculpt to make her collar, and a tiny bit of craft foam to make her the little belt, or I'm not sure if it's the belt or, like, the elastic seam of her yoga shorts that she has going on, but, yeah, I did that. And this is where you get some of the subtle things, like aside from the fact that she's wearing something akin to a sports bra and yoga shirts and yoga shorts and has closed her vest, she also has a stripe going down her back, a red stripe. Real-life chipmunks have a stripe going down their backs, but Princess Sally never did, so the post-Super Genesis continuity giving her a stripe actually makes her design more accurate to a real-world chipmunk, and I found that adorable. And of course I reflected that in the custom as well. The limbs are a pretty simple affair, since I could dismantle them and work on them much easier. I love being able to fully dismantle a figures, because it makes it really easy to paint the joints. I use a little bit more craft foam to make the hemline on her legs as well. And, well, that was it. There was no sculpting necessary for the boots, because Amy Rose's boots look almost exactly like post-Super Genesis Sally's boots. They just needed a repaint. That's all they needed. And that goes for the arms too, just a pure repaint, because Princess Sally is wearing gloves that are very similar to Amy's. The only difference is that the ring is a crystal blue instead of yellow or gold. And because the modification was so light, I actually used Tinkercad to make a model of her energy blade. Oh yeah, like as a little bit of a nod to her inbuilt blades from when she was Mecha Sally, post Super Genesis Sally actually wielded sword weapons which resembled her mecha body. So that's kind of cool. And of course, all it took was drilling a tiny hole in the side of one of her rings and sticking the little peg that I made so that it goes in there. So the sword can easily go in and out, so she has a wieldable energy blade whenever she wants. Why did I only make one of them? Well, because she only has one fist and the other hand is kind of open, so I figured, like, maybe making a fist is part of what makes the energy blade coming out, so yeah, that was basically my reasoning. I easily could have made two, but I just made the one. Now, the head is based off of a 3D model made by Elisis Knight. Elisis Knight from DeviantArt is the person who made the official models for Princess Sally and the rest of the Freedom Fighters for Archie Comics. So yes, an official 3D model of these characters exists, and I was more than happy to use it. Special thanks to Corey Sonic Fan for preparing it for printing, because Corey is awesome and helpful that way. And, well, of course I had to do a little bit of sculpting on the back of the head because you know how my printer isn't the best. Also, I'm using a new filament which is a little bit glossier than the filament that I used before. So hopefully this I don't have to paint the eyes when I make this because that glossy filament actually adds a little bit of sparkle and shine. It makes the eyes look a little bit more vibrant than if I painted them. So that's kind of cool. But yes, with all the parts done, let's drill a hole in the bottom of that head and stick it onto the torso. And here is the post-Super Genesis Wave Princess Sally figure. Yes, it's Jakks Pacific scaled. It is a 100% accurate version of her. I think I've only made post-Super Genesis Sally once before, and then by Commissioner's request, she still had the modern Princess Sally's cheek tufts in place. So like it was kind of like pre-Super Genesis Wave Sally in post-Super Genesis Wave Sally's clothes. But yeah, this is like a real total post-Super Genesis Wave Sally. And you know what this means? It means that I, Wake Angel 2001, officially have action figures of all 3 generations of Princess Sally. Yep, the classic original cartoon version, the modern comic book version, which is also based on Elisa's Knight's 3D model, like because Elisa's Knight also made 3D models of the Freedom Fighters in their pre-Super Genesis Wave forms. Awesome guy that Elisa's Knight is. Of course, that one's Jazzware scaled, while the other 2 are Jakks scaled, but And of course, the totally brand new post-Super Genesis Wave or post-modern Princess Sally. Yes, all 3 generations are now mine. I am such a happy person. So thank you all for watching this video, and this is Wake Angel 2001 signing off.